Hare Krishna. Can you hear my voice? Am I audible? Okay, let's start. Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So thank you all very much for joining today's session. We have been discussing from the 14th chapter of the 5th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. This is the last chapter of the discussion between Rahuguna and Jadabharata. Actually, Rahuguna and Jadabharata's conversation is over. So after the conversation gets over, where towards the end, Jadabharata, in order to stimulate detachment in the heart of Rahuguna, describes the forest of material enjoyment in order to create that detachment. And because it is described in an allegorical way, Parikshit Maharaj seeks for explanation of the allegory. And once while doing the 13th chapter, we did see the explanation of the allegory through the commentary of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. And on top of that, we also saw one more revision of that. And then we revised it also. And then in the 14th chapter, again, when Parikshit Maharaj sought clarification of that allegory, again we saw one more recap of that. So I'm not going to recap it any further. Okay. The forest of material enjoyment, in essence, the forest is samsara. The merchant who enters that forest is the jiva who is interested in enjoying in this material world. And the various afflictions like the mosquitoes, the bees, the stinging of the bees, the crickets, the owls, and all of that are various obstacles the jiva who is interested in enjoying in this material world, the various obstacles that he faces is all these allegorical characters, and that has been elaborated by both Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and here Srila Shukadev Goswami. We have seen those explanations. So now directly the last few verses of this chapter we will go. Okay, we will cover that and then we will open up for some discussion. So I'm not going to do one more recap of this whole thing. We have done sufficient recaps. Okay, so now we will directly go to the last section where the sages are going to glorify Jadabharata, either as Jadabharata or as Bharat Maharaj in the previous birth or few births before. Okay. Tasyedam upagayanti. Tasya idam upagayanti. So this is okay. Just give me 1 second. Okay. आऋषभस्येह राजर्षेः मनसापि महात्मनः नानुवर्त्मार्हति नृपो मक्षिकेव गरुत्मतः tasya idam upagayanti. The sages glorify the actions of Bharata as follows. Makshikeva gurutmataha. Makshika means a mosquito or a fly. Okay. Like a fly imitating Garuda. Na anuvartma arhati nripaha. A king should not imitate Arishabhasya iha. The activities of the son of Rishabhadev, which is Bharat Maharaj. Just like a fly should not try to imitate Garuda, it would be such a ridiculous thing. Similarly, any king trying to imitate Bharat Maharaj is like a fly trying to imitate Garuda. Such was the glory of Bharat Maharaj. Hmm. Rajarshehe, who is this Bharat Maharaj? The saintly king. Mahatmanaha, the great devotee. Manasa api, which means what to speak of imitating it through one's actions. One should not even try to imitate Bharat Maharaj, even in his mind. Even in his mind, one should not try to imitate Bharat Maharaj. So, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti says, the story of Bharata is concluded with glorification by ancient sages. The wise sing of Bharata's activities. One cannot imitate the path of the son of Rishabha, the saint amongst kings, since one is unqualified. Because one is not qualified, therefore one should not try to imitate the activities of Bharat Maharaj. One cannot even desire in the mind what to speak of performing the actions. Yo dustyajandara suhridrajyam hridisprishaha jahau yuvaiva malavad uttama shloka lalasaha. Yaha uttama shloka lalasaha. Bharat Maharaj, who longed to serve the Lord, uttama shloka lalasa. He had a greed to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And because of that greed, Jahau, he gave up. What did he give up? Dara, his wife, Sutan, his children, Suhrid, his friends, Rajyam, the kingdom, Malavad, as if they were stool. So he gave them up as if they were stool. Hridisprushaha. Even though for an ordinary person they are very, very attractive. But he gave them up as if it was stool. Okay. Yuvaiva dustyajan. And thus difficult to give up at a young age. And it's not that he gave them up once he reached an age where he could no longer enjoy them. Or where he could only minimally enjoy them. No. He gave them up when he was young. Jahau yuvaiva malavad uttama shloka lalasaha. So, Bharat Maharaj was such an exalted personality that he gave them up at such a young age. So, this verse describes Bharata's experience of prema. The word yaha, because it is connected with the phrase uttama shloka lalasaha, has no corresponding saha. It is like the sentence Miritam yad abhiramatadika. What is implied gives additional beauty. The wife and sons were difficult to give up because they were attractive to the heart. Suhrid Rajyam is a Dvandva compound taken as one item. He gave up his wife and sons while young, whereas Priyavrat gave up his kingdom when he was old. He gave up everything as if it were stool. Okay. So, why is such a unpalatable, very disgusting analogy given here? He gave them up as if it is not mentioned that they were stool. He gave them up as if one would give up stool. Okay. So what is the meaning of this analogy? Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti says, giving up stool gives bliss. Not giving it up gives pain. I mean, even though very not so pleasant analogy, but I think it's one of the most relatable analogies of Srimad Bhagavatam, right? Even though very unpleasant, but very relatable. Everyone knows, right? So, giving it up gives bliss. Not giving it up gives pain. You know, some people I know, if they go outside their house, they are very much kind of attached to their own washrooms. That if there is a change of washroom, they cannot relieve themselves. especially when they're traveling, especially when they're traveling, because the washrooms are not, uh, they may not be very clean, or the very thought that this washroom is also being used by other strangers, you know, they can't relieve themselves. It becomes very difficult. So sometimes people, um, they don't, for 2 or 3 days, sometimes they prefer to remain constipated than to, uh, not a very good thing to discuss in the morning Bhagavatam class. But the point is, uh, you know, giving it up gives great bliss, and not giving it up gives great pain. Uh, So, and remembering it, hmm, and remembering it makes one spit in disgust. This is the, so which means this was Bharat Maharaj's mood. He was very happy giving it up, and while he could not give up because he still had some responsibilities, he was not very happy about it. And having given up, just remembering it was creating disgust. This shows his distinctive character. The reason was that he longed for the Lord who had the highest fame in terms of form, qualities, pastimes, sweetness, and powers. Uttama Shloka Lalasa. So this was because of the greed. This was because of the greed that he had for seeing the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who was Uttama Shloka, the most fit person to be glorified because of his, uh, transcendental name, form, qualities, pastimes, etc. So he longed to see the Lord. Persons who show detachment by all their senses but are not absorbed in the Lord do not reject wife and sons like stool. So this is the point. Persons who show detachment by all their senses, uh, but are not absorbed in the Lord do not reject wife and sons like stool. So which means this sense of extraordinary detachment was caused due to his extraordinary attachment to Krishna. If someone does not have that kind of an extraordinary attachment to Krishna, then one would not have that amount of detachment to, this thing. I mean, if you remember, I mean, I don't know, maybe you people don't fall in that category. The last semester exam, if you are, I mean, I don't know, maybe not so much in the medical college, but I'm sure, I think at least some of you have this experience in engineering colleges. You know, people, when the semester exam starts, everyone is studying, everyone is, by the time you have like 6 papers, 7 papers, sometimes 8 papers. And by the time you reach the last exam, you have already planned. After the last semester exam, you will go out, maybe for a movie or for just chill out or maybe for a cricket match or something like that. That everyone by then on the last day, because you have toiled so much or maybe not so much, you are very eager to finish the last exam. Generally, it is observed on the last day, people finish the paper much earlier. On the last day, whatever is the last paper, they finish the paper very early because they already have plans, because they have toiled, and they definitely desire to give themselves some, pleasure. So because that pleasure is so inviting, you will see on the last day of exam, you know, people finish the paper very, very early and then they just run away. Okay, because they have been very eagerly waiting for that pleasure of maybe a party or maybe, you know, some fun with the friends. Okay. So if this is the case in this material world, how much more was the greed of Bharat Maharaj? to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Not that he was not serving when he was a householder, but he wanted exclusive time with his Lord. Uttama Shloka Lalasa. So Lalasa means greed. It's not just desire. Greed is a very intense emotion. Uttama Shloka Lalasa. Because of that, uh, his staying with the family members and kingdom and everything, he felt like, you know, in literal sense, Bhagavatam is putting it in a very euphemistic way, but literally he felt constipated, severely constipated, and he was very eager to relieve himself of. Okay. Not because they were disgusting, but because he was very eager to engage exclusively in the service of the Supreme Lord. Uttama Shloka Lalasa, greed, because of that greed. This shows Bharata's topmost status as a devotee. So here, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti says, persons who show detachment by all their senses, but are not absorbed in the Lord, do not reject wife and sons like stools. So they may say, oh, I am not attached. I am not attached. So, but they will not become uncomfortable in the presence of them. This is one level of detachment. Okay. But there is another thing you will see when the detachment is not sufficient, when there is a lot of attachment, you will see sadhakas becoming uncomfortable in an unfavorable circumstance. Have you ever noticed it? Okay. So you don't want to eat non-prasadam, but at home, your other family members, they get, you know, your favorite pizza from Domino's or something like that. Okay. They order, and then it creates anger in you. It creates anger. You become very uncomfortable. But that discomfort is born out of our attachment. The attachment is not gone. It is not due to Uttama Shloka Lalasa, but it is due to Domino's Pizza Lalasa. Because you are still attached to that fragrance and whatever. So you become uncomfortable and angry because of your attachment to, because you have not given up your attachment to, wife, sons, etc. So it creates when the detachment is insufficient. But when the detachment is sufficient, like an Atma Rama, Atma Ramascha Munayo, Nirgranta api Urukrame. Okay. So under such circumstances, you will see the person is totally not at all affected. You get Domino's pizza, you get whatever you want, doesn't matter. The person is completely detached, completely detached. Okay. Because there is no attachment. But on the other hand, the other extreme is when the person has Uttama Shloka Lalasa, great eagerness to unite with the Supreme Personality of God, greed, not just eagerness, greed, intense greed to unite, then at that time, he starts acting like this sadhaka, being uncomfortable. But the discomfort is not caused due to his attachment to the Domino's pizza. But the discomfort is because he does not want even a moment of his time to be taken away by anyone else. That intense greed. So, Vaishnavera Kriya Mudra Vigyehana Bhujaya. The activities of um, these great personalities cannot be understood very easily. So we may think that why he is becoming so uncomfortable? Is he so attached to his wife, children? Is that why he is becoming uncomfortable? No. That is not caused due to attachment to his wife, children, and kingdom, but it is actually caused due to attachment to uh, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That he cannot tolerate even one moment of that time being taken away by anything else. But an Atma Rama may not necessarily have that kind of attachment to Krishna. He may just have material detachment. So he is not disturbed. So he is not disturbed. Now, it is not necessary that a person who has reached the stage of prema would necessarily manifest intense discomfort in the presence of kingdom, wife, children, etc. That's not necessarily a very standard uh, reaction. So, mm, how prema stimulates, uh, how prema stimulates a person's action is not very stereotyped. In the case of Bharat Maharaj, he felt uncomfortable. In the case of Ramananda Rai, you see, for example, he was like quite comfortable. He was training the Devadasis also. What to speak of interacting with his own wife and children, legally wed wife and children. He was training Devadasis with absolutely no discomfort. Okay. So the from a very simplistic point of view, if we try to understand the state of prema or the activities of persons at the state of prema, it's very difficult. You you can't understand. You see the case of Ramananda. So you cannot compare. So between Ramananda and Bharat Maharaj, who is more advanced? You cannot compare like that. So here, his Uttama Shloka Lalasa of Bharat Maharaj created disgust towards our external disgust towards his own family, kingdom, etc. But in the case of Ramananda Rai, his Uttama Shloka Lalasa, intense greed to serve Krishna, manifested in the form of utilizing the Devadasis in the service of Krishna. So there is no stereotyped way in which Prema Bhaktas act. And you see the case of Pundarik Vidyanidhi. He was dressing very gorgeously and, combing his hair, applying fragrant oil and all that. And on the other hand, you see Prithu Maharaj, who was, lighting fire on all four sides and with the sun shining from the top, was performing austerities. And during winter season, he would, late at night or early in the morning in the frigid winter cold, he would dip himself in the river, throat deep, and he would perform austerities like that. So both are prema bhaktas. So therefore, you cannot say both have uttama shloka lalasa. Both have uttama shloka lalasa. But despite that, that manifestation of the uttama shloka lalasa may not externally manifest essentially in the form of this kind of extreme activities of detachment. We cannot say that for sure. Okay. Then he continues. Yo dustyajan shitisuta swajanartadaran pratyam shriyam suravarair sadayavalokam naichandripastaduchitam mahatam madudvit sevanurakta manasam abhavopi falguhu. So he says, Na ichandripaha, the king did not desire. Kshiti, Suta, Swajana, Artha, Dharan, the earth, sons, relatives, objects, wife, Yaha Dustyajan, which are very difficult to give up. Na Ichan Shriyam, and he did not desire his wealth. Pratyam Suravaraihi, and it's not like Bharat Maharaj had ordinary wealth. His wealth was desired even by the best of the demigods. Even the best of the demigods desired the wealth that he had. Sadaya avalokam, which cast glances asking to be engaged in a service. You know, while we are running after wealth, she runs away from us. And but wealth personified was waiting for the merciful glance of Bharat Maharaj. Can you please engage me in your service? Uh, She was very eager to be engaged in the service of Bharat Maharaj. So, taduchitam, that is appropriate. This action is appropriate. Why? Abhavopi falguhu, for even liberation is insignificant. For Mahatam, for the great devotees. Madhudvit Sevanurakta Manasam, whose minds are attracted to serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Abhavopi falguhu. Uh, So, for those whose minds are attracted to serving the Supreme Lord, even the bliss of liberation is insignificant. Abhavopi falguhu. Falgu means insignificant. Abhavaha means liberation. No longer birth in this material world. Abhavopi falguhu. So he gives an explanation. Okay, 100 people reached. Okay, let me just share the. Just give me 1 second. Just give me 1 second. Hey, okay. So, yeah. Naichan ripas taduchitam mahatam madudvit sevanurakta manasam abhavopi falguhu. This action of Bharat Maharaj is appropriate. So here Shukadeva Goswami says that one should not be surprised seeing this kind of detachment of Bharat Maharaj, because this kind of detachment is natural for a person whose mind is attracted to serving the Supreme Lord. Bhakti Pareshanubhavo Viraktir Anyatra Chaisha Trikayeka Kalaha. So Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti says, in joy, the same meaning is repeated to make it clear. He did not desire wealth. This makes his followers glance at wealth while thinking, Bharata should have such mercy on her. Sadaya avalokam. This is the meaning given by Sridhar Swami. So they think, Arey, Bharat Maharaj should have been more merciful towards wealth, like that. Or it can refer to wealth, which looking at Bharata with pity says, Bharata should not accept pains of the body arising from his detachment. He should remain in this house pampered by me. So either that Sadayavalokam can refer to, Bharat Maharaj should be more merciful, or it can also refer to wealth personified glancing at Bharat Maharaj, thinking, why is he suffering so much? I am willing to serve him. Hmm? Why is he suffering so much? I am willing to serve him. Hmm? Like that. Abhavaha, even liberation was insignificant. That also is given up. Hmm. Okay. Then further, this is the sages singing the glories of Bharat Maharaj. We have two more verses. Yajnaya dharma pataye vidinai punaya yogaya sankhya shirase prakrtishvaraya नारायणाय हरये नमयित्युदारं हास्यन्मृगत्वमपि यः समुदाजहार. So he says, Nama iti, I offer respects. Yajnaya, to this personification of sacrifice. Dharma pataye, to the master of dharma. Vidinai punaya, who is skillful in the rules for sacrifice. Yogaya, to the personification of yoga. Sankhya Shirase, to the head of Sankhya. Prakrtishvaraya, to the Lord of Prakriti. Narayanaya Haraye, to Lord Narayana, to Hari. Hasyan Mrigatvam, wanting to give up his dear body. Yaha Udaram Samudajahara, he chanted loudly this prayer. So, in order to establish the supremacy of Bharat Maharaj, it is mentioned that even when he was in the body of a deer, he chanted this mantra, glorifying the Supreme Lord before giving up his body. Yajnaya dharma pataye vidinai punaya. So the Lord is glorified as the personification of sacrifice, as the master of dharma, as one who is skillful in the rules for sacrifice, to the personification of yoga, to the head of Sankhya, to the Lord of Prakriti, to Lord Narayana, to Hari. So in this way, wanting to give up his dear body, he chanted loudly this prayer. He says, in 3 lines, successively, karma, jnana, and bhakti are glorified for having greater and greater excellence. Okay, first line is yajnaya dharma pataye vidhi naipunaya is karma. The Lord is, we see this bhoktaram yajnatapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram suhridam sarvabhutanam gyatva mam shantim rachati. So where the Lord is addressed as or perceived as yajna book, the one who is the object of, he's the one who receives the result of all my sacrifices and bestows me all that I need in return, all the material things that I need in return. This is how a karma yogi sees the Supreme Lord. Yajna book. Bhoktaram yajna tapasam. Tapo book. The jnana yogi perceives the Lord as the recipient of all his austerities, and in return he gives liberation. Sarvaloka Maheshwaram, the super soul, that is the perception of the yogi. Suhridam Sarvabhutanam, the most well-wishing friend of all living entities, that is the perception of the devotee. So like that. So the same way here it says, Yajnaya Dharmapataye Vidhi Naipunaya. So this is the perception of the Karma Yogi. Perceiving the Supreme Lord to be the personification of sacrifice, the master of Dharma, who is skillful in the rules for sacrifice. Yogaya Sankhya Shirase Prakrtishvaraya. So this is for a person on the platform of yoga or jnana. He perceives the Lord as Yogaya, the personification of yoga. Sankhya Shirase, to the head of Sankhya. Prakriti Ishwaraya, to the Lord of Prakriti. Okay. Narayanaya Haraye. This is the perception of the devotee. Narayanaya Hare, Lord Narayana to Hari. Chanting in this way, Hasyam Mrigatvam Apiyas Samudajahara. He chanted these names like that. So in 3 lines successively, karma, jnana and bhakti are glorified for having greater and greater excellence. I offer respects to the Lord who is expert in the rules for sacrifice. While desiring to give up his dear body, not at the time of death, he chanted, since the Lord would make him take birth again to perfect his bhakti. Okay. So here, Yaidam Bhagavata Sabhajita Avadata Avadata Gunakarmano Rajarsher Bharatasya Anucharitam Swastyayanam Ayushyam Dhanyam Yashasyam Swargapavargyam Va Anushrunoti Akyasyati Abhinandati Cha Sarva Eva Ashisha Atmana Ashaste Na Kanchana Parata Iti. So here it says, anyone who hears, relates, or glorifies this narration of the saintly King Bharata, whose pure qualities and actions are worshipped by great devotees, a story which yields auspiciousness, long life, wealth, fame, heaven, and liberation, achieves all blessings spontaneously without depending on anything else. So, one who hears this story, of course, we have discussed this many times. I will just touch upon it once more. That we have just completed hearing the narration of Bharat Maharaj's story, both as Bharata and the deer and Jada Bharata. So this is the Falashruti Shloka, which glorifies the benefits of hearing the story. So here, even though some material benefits may be given, it is just to attract those people who may have some material attractions, only to attract them to Srimad Bhagavatam. So it is understood that such people are attracted so that gradually they may get the association of pure Vaishnavas and their desires may change. So Bhagavatam is not promoting Kaitava Dharma. Dharma projita kaitavotra paramo nirmatsaranam satam. But at the same time, Bhagavatam wants to reject Kaitava Dharma, but it does not want to reject people who are attracted to Kaitava Dharma. So Kaitava Dharma means what? Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, Karma Mishra Bhakti, Jnana Mishra Bhakti, Yoga Mishra Bhakti. Cheating religion. So Bhagavatam is not rejecting Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga. Bhagavatam is rejecting them as means to attain prema. So, paramo nirmatsaranam satam. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, in describing that word paramo, in that verse dharma projita, he says paramo means that which gives the highest goal of prema. So, if you define the goal as prema, then karma yoga, jnana yoga, ashtanga yoga, they all become kaitava dharma. Cheating religions, which means if you think that you can attain prema by practicing of karma jnana yoga or mishra bhakti, then you will be cheated. Otherwise, if Bhagavatam rejects karma jnana and yoga as means to attain anything, then it is actually Shruti Shastra Ninda. It is criticism of the Shastras. So as devotees, this understanding should be very clear. That when we see other people being attached to karma, jnana, yoga, shastras, we don't criticize them. We understand that, yes, they lack the sukriti. So, because they lack that bhaktionmukhi sukriti, it is but natural that they will be attracted to these shastras. So, one should not have a very critical mentality towards them. But at the same time, as devotees, they themselves should not be attracted to those shastras. Okay. So, Bhagavatam rejects the other paths as means to attain prema. But Bhagavatam does not want to reject those people who are attracted to those goals. So Bhagavatam, through these Falashrutis, attract those people with the hope that let them come to Bhagavatam, hear the pastimes of Bhagavatam with a desire to get their material benefits. But at least in that way, they will hear about the supreme detachment of Bharat Maharaj, his supreme attachment to Krishna, and maybe when they hear these things in the association of Vaishnavas, there is a chance that they may get pure devotional faith. So that is how we should understand these Falashrutis. Devotees should not get excited seeing these Falashrutis. Oh, because our understanding is yat karma bir yat tapasa jnana vairagyatascha yat yogena dana dharmena shreyo bir ritarairapi sarvam madbhakti yogena madbhakta labate anjasa swarga apavarga maddama katanchid yadi vanchati. So all the benefits of karma jnana yoga, whether it is swarga, liberation, mystic siddhis, everything can be obtained by practice of bhakti alone. There is nothing else that is needed. But devotees do not perform bhakti for these reasons. These Falashrutis are there only to attract people who are attracted to these end results, not to distract devotees from pursuing these results. Okay, so that should be very clear. Srila Rupa Goswami, after describing the 64 limbs in Bhaktirasamrita Sindhu, he says, yes, there may be all these other results that are mentioned in these shlokas, glorifying the particular limbs of devotional service. But a devotee should understand, Kintu Mukyam Phalam Ratihi, he says. The prime benefit of all these things, which should actually be pursued by the devotees, is Rati, Bhagavad Rati, love of Krishna, nothing else. Okay. Okay. So, Bharata's pure qualities and actions are worshipped in the Bhagavatam or by the devotees. Easily, spontaneously, all things desired are attained. Thus ends the commentary on the 14th chapter of the 5th canto of Bhagavatam for the pleasure of the devotees in accordance with the previous acharyas. Okay, so this brings us to the end of this episode between Jadabharata and uh, Rahugana. So, from the next chapter onwards, we are almost going to start the Vedic cosmology section. Even yesterday, I was talking with Prem Gaurang Prabhu. So, either during weekends or maybe during our morning sessions, I have invited both Prem Gaurang Prabhu and Pavaneshwar Prabhu for sharing their insights on the Vedic cosmology. So, we will, of course, be doing our study. But apart from that, we will also have the presence of both of them so that they can share additional insights into Vedic cosmology. Okay. So, at this point of time, we can open up for some discussions, questions. Uh, right now, we have about 45 minutes time. And tomorrow, we will directly start with the 15th chapter. There will be no extra session dedicated for question answers. Today, we have 45 minutes, 45 long minutes for Q&A. So whatever questions, discussion points are remaining, we will cover it today, and tomorrow we can directly start from the 15th chapter. Okay, any quick discussion points, comments, questions we can take. We have some questions in the chat box. Let's take them, questions and comments. Okay. Yeah, Dharmartha Kama Samaye Gataye Pratiksha. They are all waiting to serve the great devotee of the Lord. Okay, there is another question. Even in the body of a deer, Maharaj Bharat remembered the Supreme Lord while giving up the body. So why did he have to take one more birth? Because the Lord says, Antakalecha mameva smaran. Why? In fact, what does he say? Antakalecha mameva smaran muktva kalevaram yap prayati sa mad bhavam yati nastyatra samshayah. He says, Antakalecha, at the time of death, Antakalecha mam eva smaran. If one remembers me at the time of death, Antakalecha mam eva smaran muktva kalevaram, if he gives up his body, Antakalecha mam eva smaran muktva kalevaram. What is that? Yep, prayati sam mad bhavam. He attains my bhava. Okay, he attains my bhava. It is not necessary that he will not take birth again. He attains my bhava. And that's exactly what Bharat Maharaj, as Jada Bharata attained. He attained, he was completely absorbed in Krishna in his next birth. And his next birth was not defined by karma. It was orchestrated by Krishna. Yap prayati samadbhavam yati nastyatra samshayah. There is no doubt about it. Srimad Bhagavatam does not reject those who are attracted to karma jnana yoga. Rather, it aims to attract their attention by presenting something that resonates with them already and in turn help upgrade their adhikar. Yes, this is true. This is true. And at the same time, the Srimad Bhagavatam wants the Bhakti Adhikaris not to be misled by such falashrutis, since these cannot lead to rati. These such adhikaras are forewarned not to get cheated out. Yeah, that's true. Okay, there is another question. When we hear devotees should not be emotionally dependent on non-devotees, please clarify what does that mean. Also, please throw some light on the difference between sense gratification and emotion. Okay. So, not to become emotionally dependent means that we don't become dependent on entertaining us. Okay. We don't become dependent on entertaining us because their entertainment will take our consciousness away from Krishna. Whereas we may try to entertain them so that their consciousness can be attracted to Krishna. So emotional dependence should be with devotees, because when there is flow of emotions with some person, we start borrowing their value system. Where there is emotional investment, it is very likely that we may start borrowing their value systems. It is very likely. So we don't become emotionally dependent means it's not that we become so affectionately disposed towards them that we look forward to spending time with them. So when you look forward to spending time with them, you naturally want to do whatever they want to do. Okay. And if you do that, you may naturally get attracted to it, and which will not have any connection with Krishna. So, not that we should not show courtesy to them. It's not that we should not try to be nice to them. There is a difference between being nice to them and becoming emotionally dependent on them. Because emotional dependence creates a change of value system. Emotional dependence creates a change of value system. Therefore, we try to be nice to them so that they become emotionally dependent on us so that we can try to change their value system. This is actually Agyata Sukriti. Agyata Sukriti is what? When a sadhu tries to be nice with you, nice with the jiva, that jiva slowly it creates an opportunity for the jiva to become emotionally dependent on the sadhu. And when the jiva becomes emotionally dependent on the sadhu, he starts slowly borrowing the value system of the sadhu. So when we become emotionally dependent on non-devotees, then gradually we will start borrowing their value system. So that is the meaning. Okay. Also, please throw some light on the difference between sense gratification and emotion. Well, sense gratification is, they both are connected. They are not completely disconnected. But sense gratification is little gross, which is on the level of senses. But emotion is little more subtler. It's on the level of the antakarana. It's on the level of antakarana. Of course, sense gratification, both are in one sense like gratification of the gross or the subtle senses, but one is very gross, another is little more subtle. So, okay, there is another question. Renunciation, a note from previous class. Okay. Renunciation is equal to detachment from that which is not your Swarupa. Bhakti is Swarupa of the Jiva. So no detachment from Bhakti or objects of Bhakti is required. Yeah, this is very correct. Renunciation means detachment from that which is not your Swarupa. So the Supreme Lord does not feel detached from the devotee because Bhakti is a part of his Swarupa. Okay. So his attachment to the devotee, his attachment to a devotee is very natural. Okay. There is another question. So a devotee boy or girl getting married to a non-devotee and getting attached to them is a danger, isn't it? Naturally, there will be emotional dependence too. Yeah, the danger is always there. That's why ideally, if a devotee marries another devotee, that is the ideal case. That is the ideal case. Worst case, if that becomes not possible for whatever reasons, then uh, you know, like Prabhupada always said, try to make the best use of the bad bargain. Okay, try to make the best use of the bad bargain. So the ideal case is, if it's a devotee. So worst case, if that is not possible, then you become very clear that, the risk is there, so I have to be very careful. Okay, like that. Another question. So if even after remembering the Supreme Lord in the form of deer, Maharaj Bharat had to take birth again, so can we assume that even if we take the holy name of Krishna at the time of death, it's up to Krishna to take us to his abode or not? Not to. If so, how should we take this lesson, as we already have known by now that this material world is full of suffering? Well, there is a difference between chanting and smaranam. We have discussed this many times. It is not that, see, whatever we are able to naturally remember during our lives, that's what we will remember at the time of death. It is antakalecha mameva smaran muktva kalevaram. It is not antakalecha mameva shravan muktva kalevaram or antakalecha mameva kirtan muktva kalevaram. It is antakalecha mameva smaranam. So smaranam means what? A spontaneous remembrance. But spontaneous remembrance happens only when you have attachment. Okay, only when you have attachment. So, and And death is a time when death is such an excruciating experience that death will attract all your attention and remembrance. But if at the time of death, if you are able to remember Krishna, if you are able to remember Krishna means that indicates your intense attachment to Krishna. So which means antakalecha mameva smaran muktva kalevaram means that if at the time of death, when they say that it is like a stinging of 10,000 scorpions or something at one shot. Okay. Is there anyone in this august assembly of devotees who have ever been stung by a scorpion? Is there anyone who has ever been stung by a scorpion? Please don't raise your hands. You can type it in chat box. Yeah. So one scorpion sting can be so absorbing that you cannot think of anything else. 1,000 scorpions at one time, how much attention it will attract. If at that time, if you are able to remember Krishna, means that indicates your attachment to Krishna. Okay. So otherwise people may say that, oh, when this devotee was leaving his body, so many people came and chanted the holy names. So therefore, definitely it's a very fortunate death. He will go back home, back to Godhead. Well, very good thought, very good thing to say. Okay. But it may not necessarily be true. Because it is not Shravan Muktva Kalevaram. So the devotees are coming and they are making you hear. So they are making you hear means what? They are making you a little more attached to Krishna at the time of death. But that does not mean you have throughout your life done very meager bhakti, very weak bhakti, very weak sadhana. And just by at the time of your death, if 10 devotees come and chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, it's not going to significantly change our destination. Of course, this is a very harsh thing to say. I apologize. I apologize. But the point is, I am not trying to trivialize the importance of chanting when someone is leaving their body. Okay. It enhances their remembrance a little bit. But to tell the truth, it is not going to significantly change their destination. That is reality. Okay, that is reality. So, but the point is that, so what happens if someone hears or chants the holy name at the time of death? Very good. It just enhances their remembrance a little bit, but it is not going to significantly make them attached to Krishna, that it will change their destination only completely. That is very unlikely. Okay. So I'm again not trivializing the importance of going at the deathbed of a devotee and chanting for him or reading for him. That is very important. That's very important. Okay. But the point is, remembrance means a spontaneous remembrance. And if at the time of death, when it's the most excruciating experience that one can ever face, when that experience of death attracts all their attention to that person, if even in such a circumstance, if one is able to remember Krishna, means he is extraordinarily attached. Uttama shloka lalasa. So then such a person, ya prayati sa madbhavam yati. Even such a person, he will attain madbhava. And that Bharat Maharaj attained. Bharat Maharaj did attain. As Jada Bharata, he was always thinking of Krishna. But whether that will be good enough to leave this material world and become an eternal associate in that very life, that may not necessarily be possible, because to perform prema in this with this material body, by spiritualizing this material body, is possible in this material world. Only when that prema becomes very extraordinary, very extraordinary, then the spiritualized material body is not capable of experiencing the ecstasies of that prema. In such a circumstance, then one will not get the next body. They will go back to the spiritual world. But till then, even a prema bhakta, one who has reached prema, he can take birth again. One who has reached prema can take birth again. If that prema is not mature to a particular level, which was the case of Bharat Maharaj, that he had prema when he was in the body of a deer, but Krishna wanted that to mature further, so he made him take one more birth. But that one additional birth is not the birth which was due to the law of karma, but it was personally orchestrated by Krishna. Like that. Okay. So there are 4 more hands up. Let's start taking these questions. Yes, Radhika Sevika Mataji. Your
Hare
voice
Krishna,
is...
Prabhuji. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Prabhuji, my question is you were telling that we should not literally take that listening to Falshruti the way it was amplified, that all the sins would come to an end and excessive blessings.
I did not say that.
Uh-huh.
I did not say you should not literally take. It is literal.
So,
What I mentioned was,
uh-huh.
we should not get attracted by these falashrutis.
Okay.
Our mukhya phala is rati, is Krishna prema. For that purpose we chant. I did not say you don't take this thing literally. It is to
Right.
be taken literally, but
Okay.
it is for someone else, not for us. That is the point that I was trying to say.
So, Prabhuji, now I just wanted to understand that a little more deeply. My question is very precise. There are 3 cases. One is a Nirmatsaram, a non devotee who's non envious, struggling devotee, and a devotee who's fallen from the path of bhakti for some reasons. So, in these 3 cases, what is going to be the effect of Falshruti? Let's say first is the Nirmatsaranam, the non envious non devotee. Then, second, the struggling devotee. And third, the devotee who's for some reason fallen down from the path of devotion. What will be the effect on all these 3?
On the falashruti,
Yes.
I don't know. He has to, when he reads the falashruti, what impact it creates in him, it depends on that.
Mm-hmm. But
So if the person has no material attachment and he has no devotion, the falashruti will not attract him only.
Okay.
So, and if a person has fallen down from bhakti means, why is it because of offenses? If he has fallen down, then he may not get attracted to Bhagavatam only. So, so one has to first trust the pramana to get attracted by the promises of the pramana. Like someone says that we give 100% interest. This bank gives 100% interest. Do you think everyone will go and put their money in that bank?
No.
No, because they will not trust that bank only.
Right.
Okay. So, in order to trust, so they have to have some trust also. So, just because Bhagavatam promises everything, but if they don't have trust in Bhagavatam's promise only, that that he's not, he's just like that telling, this is not a reliable source, reliable pramana. If they think like that, then they will not take those words seriously only.
Right. And so for the struggling devotee, Prabhuji?
For the struggling devotee, he should understand that yes, Bhagavatam can give all these things, but I should be taking shelter of the glories of the holy name, or the form of the Lord, and all these things. I should be hearing these stories and these glorifications only to develop my attraction to prema, and I should not be distracted by all these other side benefits which bhakti may give.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Yes. Leela Manjari Mataji.
Wait, this emotional, just when you started, one question was asked. So I just wanted to know, in some situations of life, we may feel, I may be wrong, but I may feel that when I discuss this thing with my devotee colleagues, they don't understand. But when I discuss it with my material colleagues, it's
Mhm.
purely regarding professional.
Yeah.
So they may understand. So the tendency to lean towards so-called non-devotee friends
Mm.
regarding professional may become little more stronger, but it
Mm.
is inside. The Paramatma always tells you it can be risky. So how to tackle that tendency of having more emotional dependence on non-sadhakas regarding
Yeah.
profession? Because
Yeah.
sometimes I feel regarding professional life, my devotee co-friends don't understand me well. My
Okay.
devotees, they lose interest in material life, they lose interest in money, which is very good. They lose interest in achievements, which is really good. But if I have those material desires hang with me, so many, so then I feel that, but I feel it at the same time very risky to lean towards non-devotee friends. So
Yeah.
how to balance this situation, and how to better better to always still go to devotee friends for emotional support, because it's quite risky to go to non-devotee friends.
See, that is why we need devotees who show us the gold standard, but at the same time empathize with where we are.
Mm,
So, if that is very important. Otherwise, an immature devotee will say, "Arey, what are you talking about? This is all material."
mhm,
But a mature devotee will understand what you are going through, and not that they will compromise the gold standard, but they will say, "Yeah, I understand what you are going through. It is very natural." And they will speak in ways. So, this is not a problem with devotees and non devotees. It is a problem with whether the devotees whom you approached were mature enough to not just give you the right answer, but also mature enough to empathize with what you are going through currently. Okay.
mhm,
So that is where, it is important. That is why we were discussing the other day in our Bhagavatam, the aspects of uh, sadhu sangha is sajatiya ashaye snigde sadhu sangha swatovare. The three aspects of sadhu sangha. One is like-mindedness. Okay. Like-mindedness is important. Then there has to be affection. Okay.
mhm,
Affection also. And the third thing is swatovare. The person is more mature than us, more spiritually mature than us. So when they are more spiritually mature, not only are they connected to the highest goal, but they also have empathy towards where you are.
mhm,
So, so the problem is not with devotees. The problem is with probably lack of maturity in the devotees whom you are approaching for some guidance.
mhm,
So, where sometimes they give the gold standard answers, but we don't have sufficient ability to digest it right now. We know that it is correct, but
mhm,
we feel that, अरे यार, I know ये standard answers तो मुझे पता है, but
mhm,
it is not immediately helping me. It is not immediately helping me. It is like अभी पेट दुख रहा है, अपेंडिसाइटिस है, ठीक है, उसका
mhm,
ऑपरेशन करना पड़ेगा. You
mhm,
have to operate it, but before operating, at least give me a painkiller, because the
mhm,
operation is scheduled for tomorrow morning for 24 hours. At least give me a painkiller. I know eventually it has to be operated, but I am
mhm,
asking for some immediate relief. So for that, one needs some. Otherwise, everyone knows if you have appendicitis, it has to be operated. But till that operation time, there has to be some way of alleviating that pain. So for that, you need some, um, mature devotees association, so that they can understand and empathize with what you are going through and accordingly help you.
So, approaching non-devotees that emotionally can be extremely dangerous in all situations of life.
Well, we don't have to necessarily get paranoid about it. We can always without becoming emotionally dependent, we can always ask for professional advice. Asking professional advice is not becoming emotionally dependent. So you don't have to ask professional advice from devotees if you think that they are not professionally qualified enough to give you professional advice.
It
So
is a very
asking,
thin line, like when somebody gives you advice which you tend to like, then it is a very thin line that we get attracted to those kind of people also.
yeah, then become conscious of that. Become
Mhm.
conscious that, yeah, I like this person's advice purely because his professional uh, knowledge is very good. That's all. And we have to make that mental adjustment. But so see, whenever there is a thin line, the only way of, being careful is to consciously keep telling us that I have to be careful here.
Mhm. And we again, just the last answer, na, you repeated this that Vaishnava offense is the cause of fall down. So just if you have time and if it is okay, otherwise next time you can just this I'll need to I love to hear a little more regarding this to go to know the depth of it. That how do we really so that we don't fall down. That is a criteria. So Vaishnava offense is the main thing, or there can be something else also for falling down. One thing is we try ourselves best to not do Vaishnava offense, and there can be any more things where we can be more
See,
careful not to fall down.
see, offense means negative bhakti. So, bhakti means what? Anything in connection with Krishna, we respectfully deal with it. It is bhakti.
Mm-hmm.
Anything in connection with Krishna, you disrespectfully deal with it. It is aparad.
Mm-hmm.
So it is just a question of, so because the devotees are very much dear to Krishna and connected, very dearly connected to Krishna,
Mm-hmm.
if you disrespectfully deal with them, then it then you lose your devotional credits. Similarly, not just devotees, but the paraphernalia connected to Krishna, the dham connected to Krishna, the naam connected to Krishna, uh, all of that, anything in connection with Krishna, when we deal with them disrespectfully, we lose devotional credits. When we deal with them respectfully, we gain devotional credits. So when we lose devotional credits, then we are regressing in bhakti. And when we lose a lot, then we may lose our bhakti completely also.
Mm-hmm. Hmm. ठीक ठीक. Thank you, bro. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, Mother Gail.
Hi, Krishna Prabhu. Yeah, I just want to revisit that. I think it was the first question about how come Jabrat had to get that last birth, you know, even though he was absorbed. So, is my understanding correct that um, when Krishna says you don't have to take another birth, he means another birth by the law of karma. And so, when Jabrat took that last birth, yes, it was a birth, but because it was by Krishna's hand and not by the law of karma's hand,
Yeah.
that's why he took that birth. It's not that
Yeah.
if you're absorbed that you might necessarily go back to the spiritual world, it means that your birth won't be determined by the law of karma only. That's what no
Yeah.
no birth. No birth means no birth by the law of karma.
Correct.
Not
Correct.
that no birth period. Right?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you, Prabhu.
Correct. Yes. Champaklata Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranams. Prabhuji, on one side is like, the pastime of Jada Bharata, which is encouraging and also discouraging to an extent where, because when we get to know that he went and to the stage of bhava and fell down just one step away from prema, and then it was a great turmoil to rebound and catch up and then come back to that step. And on the other side is my situation and situation like mine, many jivas who are just making an attempt in bhakti. And from all the instructions that we hear, it sounds more like a huge wall that is to be climbed, but that is anointed with a lot of oil. So, or similar to that example is like, a huge ocean where I don't even know how to swim, but I am supposed to swim against the current. So this sounds a little daunting and intimidating for a person like me. Also, when I see many jivas, even worse than my situation, is it not a little? I mean, doesn't it sound unfavorable? Ki you are in bhakti.
So, this is where if you don't understand the pastime through the illumination of the acharyas, then everything can be daunting or everything can seem absolutely easy. So, like for example, um, this exact example of Jadabharata and Rahuguna is given in Madhurya Kadambini by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. That one should not say what did Nityananda, what did Jagai and Madai do? They smashed a pot of liquor on Nityananda Prabhu's head. They tried to kill him. What they got in return? They got prema in return. So someone can say, so if at all you want to commit offenses, find the greatest devotee and commit offenses, and very quickly you will get prema. Can you come to that conclusion?
No.
No, right? So similarly, the episode of Jadabharata or Bharat Maharaj is not to show that even from bhava a person can fall down. That is not the lesson. Even though we say Bharat Maharaj was at the stage of bhava and he got attracted to a deer. Now, which deer chants the name of the Supreme Lord? Which deer does not get attracted to other deers and only gets attracted to the sages? So, which means clearly we have to see the hands of Krishna. And that's exactly what the Acharyas are describing. They say, tu arabdha karmana. Tu arabdha karmana means that which looks like prarabdha karma, but auspicious. Auspicious, why? Because it has been personally orchestrated by Krishna. Krishna has personally orchestrated it. Otherwise, because Krishna wanted to utilize Bharat Maharaj to actually show to ordinary sadhakas the importance of being very attentive in their practice of devotional service and not getting distracted. But this does not mean a person at the stage of bhava can get distracted like that. The point is that the Supreme Lord wants to utilize his fully dedicated devotees only to set the example for everyone, whether it is people on the platform of karma, people on the platform of jnana, or sadhakas. He wants to use his perfected devotees only to teach all lessons. That is why, he used He used the Pandavas, who are actually perfected devotees. He used the Pandavas to teach them, to teach the whole world about how to properly practice the duties of karma. Now, why he has to use the Pandavas who had Bhakti Adhikar to teach a Karma Adhikari how to perform karma? Because these perfected devotees, they are perfectly acting according to the script given by Krishna. So which means they will, if they have to, if the script says act as a karmadhikari, they will act as a karmadhikari. Whereas if you use an actual karmadhikari to teach this lesson, when by chance this karmadhikari comes in touch with the devotee and becomes a devotee, then he will do sarvadharman parityajya mamekam sharanam raja. He will give up all dharma and start performing only bhakti. So then how he can act as a perfect example for the karmadhikari to perfectly perform karma? So the Supreme Lord, to teach everyone a lesson, he trusts only his devotees. Why? Snigdeshu pandushu jagat pranatimscha Vishnu bhaktim karoti nripatis charanaravinde. Because they are snigdeshu pandushu. They are completely malleable to the desire of Krishna. If Krishna says, this is your script for today, they will perfectly execute that script. Okay, Bharat Maharaj, today you have to get attracted to the deer because through you I want to teach the sadhakas. He said, okay, I will get attracted to the deer. Snigdeshu pandushu. So, because the devotees are most malleable, Krishna uses only them to show examples to everyone. So, just like one should not say that if at all you want to commit offenses to Vaishnava, find the greatest Vaishnava and offend him, because you will quickly get Krishna Prema. And what is the example? The example of Jaga and Mada is the example. Okay. One should not come to such conclusions. Similarly, the purpose of Bharat Maharaj's pastime is not to show the characteristics of a person at a stage of bhava. The purpose of that pastime is to show how sadhakas have to be attentive in their execution of devotional service. So now, Krishna, just like every other pastime, utilizes his perfected devotees to perform the play. So, or sometimes he himself comes, like you see in the case of Rishabhadev. You know, he taught the yogis how to perfectly perform yoga. Okay. So the point is, the director of the movie, he trusts his best actors. So when they are acting, in the case of Bharat Maharaj, one should not say that, oh, that is why a Bhava Bhakta can also fall down. No, a Bhava Bhakta cannot fall down. Okay. And that is why if you see, you can clearly see that the deer, this is no ordinary deer. Which deer is going to chant Yajnaya Yajna Pataye, Dharma Pataye, Samudajahara? Which deer is going to chant the names of the Supreme Lord while giving up its body? Which deer is going to run? So the point is, an attentive devotee, he will understand, oh, this is orchestration of Krishna. But at the same time, he will understand, oh, but through Bharat Maharaj, he is trying to teach me, the Supreme Lord is trying to teach me that how I have to be attentive. Because the kind of orchestration that happened for Jada Bharat may not act for me, because Jada Bharat was in bhava, he was just acting and executing the script of Krishna. But if as a sadhaka, if I become inattentive, then I will commit offenses and I may lose bhakti also. I have to be careful about that. So like that, so therefore the essence is that every pastime of the Lord has to be understood through the illumination of the acharyas. The acharyas are shining. We have to see where the acharyas are shining their light. And we have to look, we have to focus on that spot only. So that is the point.
Okay. One more question, Prabhuji. We see a lot of animals like elephants and other animals which are in service of the Supreme Lord in some temples. So is it their last birth or like
Not
they're yet to
necessarily.
get any?
No,
Okay.
no, no. They'll be getting some Sukriti by that. It's possible that they may get a human birth next time, but it's not necessary that it will be their last birth.
Okay.
Even the pujari who is serving in the temple, is it going to be his last birth?
No.
Definitely, maybe may not be, but
Mm.
he will definitely not get. He is guaranteed a human birth, and that birth will not be according to his karma.
Mhm.
But if that pujari has reached the stage of prema, then that will be his last birth.
Yeah.
So, what to speak of elephants?
So that means even if you talk about these animals who got this good fortune to serve the Supreme Lord, is it due to their own bhakti sukriti also that they would have come up to that stage, Prabhuji?
Well, it might just be that these domestic animals are kind of they are domesticated to serve human beings, but it is their good fortune that one human being who tried to domesticate it, he domesticated it and engaged it in the service of Krishna. So,
Mhm.
by good fortune, that animal is getting lot of sukriti by eating prasadam and by serving the deity forms. Even though it might be doing it just because just because of food. If I do it, my master will feed me only for that purpose. Every domesticated animal does that because it wants to please the master because so that the master can feed that animal only for
Hmm.
that purpose. But in this case, because his master happened to be a devotee and he happened to engage it in the service of the Lord, so that becomes the fortune of that animal. It keeps getting lot of agyata sukriti,
Hmm.
and maybe in the very next life it may get a human birth because of that.
Okay. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare
Right.
Krishna.
So the point is that why that animal got a good master, very likely due to its own karma. Very likely due to its own karma, it got a good master. Why that good master happened to be a devotee? That is not due to the karma of the animal. So we were discussing the other day, law of karma is like Uber. Okay. So when that animal is going to give up its body, the law of karma is like Uber company. It is looking for the next available auto driver or the car driver, which is very near you. Uh, So if he finds a car driver, okay, so let's say according to law of karma, that this jiva has to get an elephant body, and in elephant body it has to get a uh, mm, good master who will who will feed the animal very well. So if that is the karma, so immediately law of karma looks for the closest available driver. Okay, closest available driver. But the closest available driver may happen to be a devotee. Law of karma is not looking for a devotee driver. Law of karma is looking for a very benevolent driver because that is according to law of karma. The animal has to get a benevolent master, and he has to get a body of an elephant, and that elephant has to get a benevolent master. So law of karma looks. So he gets the closest driver and connects. But the closest driver may happen to be a devotee. That is not decided by law of karma. Okay, that is purely the benevolence of the devotee. So now the devotee takes over that elephant, feeds it nice prasadam, engages the elephant in the service of the Vaishnavas and the Supreme Lord. By that, the elephant gets a lot of sukriti. And because of that, he may get a human birth in the next life. That is the point. Yes, Madhavi Gopi Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavat.
Prabhuji, like you mentioned that even if somebody is at the stage of prema, but prema is not matured. and he remembers the Lord at the time of death, it may not, help him to reach to Godhead. And you also mentioned that for the, like we chant for the devotees at the time of their death. So if the person is not at the level of, has not developed that much prema, then chanting for him at the time of death will not necessarily help him that much. That's what we mentioned. So, like I
I'm
was
telling, no, no,
thinking,
no. Let me clarify before you continue the question. If a beggar is coming and begging money from you, you may think that if I give him 10 rupees, it is not going to solve all the problems of his life. Okay. It is not going to solve all the problems of his life. So let me not give him 10 rupees. We don't think like that, right? So we understand that let me do my part. Let me do my part to help this soul take one step closer to Krishna. Okay. Not that you try to say that, look, come with me and I will take care of you completely. We don't tell this to beggars, but at the same time, we know that the 10 rupees or whatever we are giving to the beggar is not going to solve all his problems of life, but we are trying to do our best, the best we can. Okay.
no, Prabhuji, my question is not that. What I'm trying to
No,
understand is in,
I know you have not asked your question, but I'm clarifying what I meant.
okay, yeah,
I am
okay.
clarifying what I meant. I am not telling that if we go and chant or read for a departing soul, I did not mean that it is not going to have any effect or very little effect. But it's not about effect. It is about showing our gratitude to that soul. It is about, forget about the impact. It may have minimal impact or great impact. But the point is that it is from the person who is going and chanting or reading. The point is that we are showing our gratitude to the soul. This soul, while he was alive, helped me take steps towards Krishna. So similarly, now I will help this soul take at least one step towards Krishna. With that mood, we go and do it. Not that our one chanting or few malas of chanting is going to deliver him directly to the doorstep of Goloka Vrindavan. We don't think like that.
That may help the person to remember Krishna at the time of death, right? Now,
Little better.
little,
Little better.
because at the time of death there will be so much pain and this, even if a devotee may not be able to remember, so that may help. So that is the
Yeah.
attempt devotees do. So,
Yeah.
but my confusion is, Prabhuji, when Krishna says that yam yam api smaran bhavam tajanti ante kalevaram. So, what does that means then? Means that means those who have reached the perfected stage of prema, they only when they remember him at the time of
Exactly.
death.
Yeah. Because can you repeat that verse? Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam completely?
Yam yam api smaran bhavam tajanti ante kalevaram tam tamaiveti kaunteya sada tadbhava bhavita.
The last phrase is the most important phrase. Sada tadbhava bhavita means I will tell the meaning of this whole verse. Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam, whatever one thinks, tejat tante kalevaram at the time of giving birth, at the time of giving up their body, tam tameva iti kaunteya. Oh Arjuna, they will attain that. Why? Sada tadbhava bhavitaha. Sada Tadbhava Bhavitaham, because they have always been meditating on it. At the time of death, they will be able to meditate on that. That is the most important point. That is why people generally miss out this Sada Tadbhava Bhavitaha. If you are able to constantly think of something, only then you will be able to think of that thing at the time of death. Sada Tadbhava Bhavita. So that is why in the next verse, what does he say? What ideally Krishna should say? Tasmat antakalecha ma
Yeah,
manusmara, he should say. But he does not say that. Tasmat sarveshu
correct.
kaleshu ma manusmara yuddhacha, he says. That's why at all time you should remember me, Krishna, and fight. Now, if Arjuna says, oh, remembering you at all time is not easy. Krishna says, okay, no problem. Abhyasa yoga yuktena chetasa nanya gamina. Abhyas karo. practice to remember me at all the time. So the point is, first thing comes faith and remembrance of Krishna. Then comes practicing to remember Krishna. Then comes practicing to remember Krishna at all time. So then comes, when you practice to remember Krishna at all time, then that remembrance becomes spontaneous. When that remembrance becomes spontaneous, then at the time of death, you will be able to remember Krishna. Then in that way, if you are able to remember Krishna at the time of death, then you will attain his abode and not return back. It is not just that you go and chant for some person, even though in the whole life he has not been thinking about Krishna. Just by your one chanting, he will be able to develop so much attachment to Krishna that he will remember Krishna at the time of death spontaneously and he will attain Krishna. It's not like that.
Okay. So actually, because many times, even to the general Sunday lectures and everywhere, this verse is quoted very frequently. That yeah, see, that is why and to remember of course, that is stays to remember at the time of death. One has to remember throughout the life. Then only one can remember like that. But yeah, this clarified, and it is also, Prabhuji, even if the person who is remembering all the while in his life, but at the time of death, due to circumstances, maybe somebody in coma or something like that, so he is not able to remember. Then Krishna says, "Na that then I will remember that person." Those like that. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank.
Okay, I think we should pause here. We are already very much over time. I apologize. So, because some sessions got cancelled, I just compensated a little bit by taking a little extra time. I apologize. From tomorrow, I will not do this. So thank you all very much for your patient listening and your enthusiastic participation. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur Pad ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.